This is the same bill that we voted down last week. The bill hasn't changed and hasn't gotten any better from last week. It's back on a motion to reconsider, but the basic problem is still the same. The basic problem is that it ratchets up the penalty for fentanyl to a level 2 felony, which is the same level as second-degree murder. It carries a strong, harsh, mandatory minimum penalty. Now, last week I said that this is one of the silliest, most ridiculous bills we've had to vote on this session. And I want to walk that back a little bit because there was some hyperbole in that. I do think that the author of this bill, the authors of this bill, are well-intentioned. They're targeting big, major dealers, people who are putting a bad drug onto the street, and that's not a bad purpose. But the problem is that the bill is overly broad, and it targets many, many low-level drug addicts who are involved in very low-level drug distribution. The penalties associated with this bill are 10-year presumptives and 15-year presumptives if you have a prior. The prior wouldn't have to be distribution. The prior could be simple possession of fentanyl. We know that addicts very often relapse. Our jails are full of addicts. Can we afford to spend hundreds of thousands of dollars, and that's what it is, hundreds of thousands of dollars locking up small-time drug addicts for 10 years and 15 years? Arizona already has one of the highest incarceration rates in the country. We already have one of the harshest penal codes in the country. And these mandatory minimums are simply filling our jails and costing us hundreds of thousands of dollars apiece per inmate. This is a state that is known all over the country for underfunding and underpaying our teachers. But apparently the authors of this bill think we have unlimited funds to incarcerate drug addicts. If this bill was targeted simply to major drug dealers, it would be well-intentioned, but the problem is it's been poorly drafted. So it will target a drug addict, a pathetic guy, and we've all seen them in the parks and around town, pathetic little derelict addicts who have two and make the mistake of selling one so they can buy a sandwich or get the money to rent a couch to sleep on. This bill targets small-scale drug dealers who happen to be addicts. It does not target the major drug dealers that we are all concerned about. So I would urge you to consider the costs of this bill, what it will do to our jail population. We're already fourth in the nation for incarceration. This bill could push us up to third in the nation for level of incarceration. This bill simply does not accomplish its intended purpose. It is overly broad. It equates distribution and possession with intent to distribute fentanyl with a level 2. It makes it a level 2 felony, which equates it to second-degree murder. That is an absurd penalty for some addict that has simply distributed one or two items and had the misfortune of coming into contact with an undercover police officer. This is bad public policy. Mandatory minimums are bad public policy. They have filled our jails and are costing us millions of dollars a year. We spend over $1 billion a year on corrections. That is absurd for a state like Arizona to be locking up so many people and keeping them in jail for so long. So, Mr. Speaker, with that, I vote no.